Attic Mall Studios. This is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
Five minutes after 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. It's been a long time since you and I had little children, Robin.
Yes, it has.
But you're going to be a grandma soon. Hey, Brian.
Yeah.
You can be a grandma.
Yeah.
Hey, so when we did have little children, I remember we went to Disney World, and you would do Disney World the following way. And anybody who's gone to Disney with kids knows this is how you do it. You get there right when it opens up, and you don't leave until it's closing down.
Exactly.
And it's a long day, and there's a lot of walking, and it's hot, and you have to wait in lines. And by the end of the day, you easily could snap.
Yeah, but
right?
We made sure not to.
That's my point. We made a conscientious decision that at the end of the day, I know how I get at circumstances like that. And this is for the kids. We want them to have the most exciting, beautiful, fun time to remember for the rest of it. I don't want them to remember me getting, you're going to like this, right? Whether you like it or not. Everybody gets cranky at the end of the day, right? So we did pretty good. I'm going to give us, just brag about us a little bit. We never had that happen, but I watched other parents doing this, right? Mm-hmm. And I watched some kids kind of getting a little bit out of hand, right? What do you do? We have a lady on the phone who might be able to help you. She is Dr. Laurie Hollman. She is a psychoanalyst and specializes in clinical training of infant, parent, child, adolescent, and adult psychotherapy. She's a columnist for Newsday's Parents and Children's Magazine and she's a Long Island parent. What do you know? I'm a Long Island kid. She's a contributor to the Psychoanalytic Study of the Child, the International Journal of Infant Observation. Wow, her credentials go on and on and on. The couple of books we're going to talk about today are the one that you can see the cover on if you're looking at the video, is The Busy Parent's Guide to Managing Anger. The other one I have here is The Busy Parent's Guide to Managing Anxiety. This is for children and teens, or parents of children and teens. Good morning, Dr. Hollman. It's an honor to have you on our show.
Thank you. Good. I liked your example about going to Disneyland and how parents get overwhelmed by the end of the day.
Yeah. So in my story, it was more the parents getting angry. But I wonder if it's not contagious. At the end of the day, everybody gets irritable, right?
Sure. Everybody's exhausted and hot.
Yeah. So what does the book help us with? Is it an easy to understand? Like we're never going to be psychotherapists like you are. So how do we take your brain and somehow infuse it into our parenting skills? Well,
I've found that when parents have come to me with what they consider a problem child, that I try to rephrase it that their child isn't a problem, their child is distressed, and that there are 5 steps called parental intelligence that every parent can learn and use in a situation where you have time or when you're very busy. And once you internalize these 5 steps, it takes care of what you were talking about, that crankiness. You know how to go about understanding your child's problem.
Really?
Whether it's anxiety or anger, that's the outward manifestation of what's going on inside. And what you want to do is find out what's going on inside so that you really tackle the real problems, not what looks like the problem on the outside.
So the example I gave is more understandable, but I'm guessing that sometimes there are some children that just, I guess we've seen this all in a restaurant or in a mall, whatever, where the child just starts screaming, is not liking whatever's happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that's a temper tantrum. And up to about 3 years of age, temper tantrums are considered normal. But after that, the child should be able to regulate their emotions. So if they can't, the parent has to know what to do in a public situation that you just explained. They have to know what to do. And in a public situation, the best thing to do is leave, really. Don't try to resolve it with people all around.
Right. In the past, did we do it wrong? The drug Ritalin comes to mind. It seems like that was something you heard about a lot. I don't hear about it anymore, but then again, I'm not a parent of a young child anymore. And in our case, we never used it, but I'm just wondering if that was overused or wrongly prescribed.
Well, our kids who are biologically do have an attention deficit disorder, and Ritalin was one of the first. It's actually a stimulant. It's ironic. It's counterintuitive, but the child is seeking an expression of themselves, and the stimulant actually calms them down. In other words, their biology works kind of backwards. And there's a lot of them now, though. There's not only Ritalin, there's about 10 of them. And some of them are more stimulating than others. And you have to really match the right drug to the right child. If a kid has ADHD, anxiety can mimic attention deficit also, because the child looks out of control, and so you think they're hyperactive, but really they're just as distressed. They're upset. So it is common. The medicines are commonly used. A lot of kids do have ADHD, but it has to be carefully evaluated to make sure that it's not concealing an anxiety disorder.
In your anxiety book, you have different examples of real life people that have acquired this anxiety. One was a girl named Laura, and she seemed to have everything together in her life. I mean, she was well liked, she was good academically, she was good at sports, but still she had these anxiety attacks.
Yeah. Well, anxiety attacks, often there's a predisposition to them, to an actual panic attack. You know how when some people are stressed, they get headaches, some get stomach aches. Some kids react with panic attacks, and adults do too. And what happens is there's a trigger of some sort that the child exaggerates and spins out of control and feels that their world is coming to an end, and their heart starts to beat rapidly. They breathe too quickly, so the carbon dioxide and oxygen are not balanced well, so they get out of breath. And that breathlessness and the palpitations in your heart, adults often think they're having a heart attack, and they go to the emergency room and find out they've had a panic attack. Kids don't know what's happening to them. It's very disorienting. And the trouble with a panic attack is that it's scary. So the more scared you get, the worse it gets. So you need someone to explain to you, you're having a panic attack. It means you're anxious. It will go away. In time, in a few minutes, you will feel better. If someone is telling you that, then you're not crazy. If someone is telling you that, you feel the control starts coming back and your body starts going back to normal. But if you're alone, like in a classroom by yourself, and this starts to happen, you don't know what to do with yourself, because you build on the anxiety and it grows faster and faster. And usually a child will run out of the room because they're so scared. But they need an adult to calm them down.
The change that happens to us as human beings when we reach teenage years, all those changes, the hormonal changes, the relationship with the other sex changes, the desire to maybe refrain from telling mom and dad everything anymore like we used to when we were younger. Does that make it more difficult for like the parent of, let's say, a 15, 16-year-old than it would for a 5 or 6-year-old?
It's not that it's more difficult, it's different. With parental intelligence, you learn the different developmental stages of your children, so you know what to expect. The child of 5 years old who's upset and will tell their parents, certainly the parents have an easier job of deciphering what's going on underneath their anxiety or their anger. When the child is older, actually, for the parents who use parental intelligence from the time the kids are little, by the time the kids are in their teens, there's a lot less pushback and rebellion than you would expect, because they trust their parents really love them and are trying to understand them. We have to know that our teenagers are people, and they have minds of their own, and they have thoughts, beliefs, opinions, intentions. And if we are patient enough to listen to them and they feel respected, they will unburden themselves on us, and we can help them. It's when the parents are always antagonistic and take the rebellion personally. The rebellion is really, I want to learn how to be my own person, my own self. I want to be more autonomous, more independent. I'm not you. I had a kid say to me the other day, I kept trying to, and this boy was much older, late teens, and he said, I told my mother, I don't always think the way you think. I have my own mind.
Yeah, really.
I don't know if she understood me, but that's what I was trying to tell her. I'm not mad at you. I just think differently. I have a different idea, a different vantage point, a different perspective.
A smart kid.
Yeah, he was a very articulate kid.
Yeah.
And he wasn't sure his mother understood because she was feeling sad that he was getting older and didn't want to let you know. So she was going through her own evolution of letting go of him. But there's separation that is not only physical but emotional. And parents really need to understand it and not take it as a personal rejection. They're not being rejected, that their child is growing up. This is growth promoting.
It's hard.
The books are called The Busy Parent's Guide to Managing Anger and Busy Parent's Guide to Managing Anxiety. Are there more than these two books?
These are the first two. We're starting a series at Familius, that's the publishing house, and they asked me to do these first two. And then I'm open to ideas actually as more because they're selling rapidly because busy parents want something they can read quickly. My first book, Unlocking Parental Intelligence, Finding Meaning in Your Child's Behavior, was more of the original text of the 5 steps of parental intelligence. And these are spin-offs from it.
If if your child's anger and your child's anxiety isn't caught by the parents in the very beginning, can this lead to the development of bipolar?
No, not directly. Bipolar is a disease unto itself. It's where you have the depression and you have a manic reaction where you get kind of speeded up and do talk too quickly, react too quickly, lose control of yourself. There's a lot of spending, a lot of drinking, that kind of thing. But it's not like one leads to the other. It's distinct disorders.
Can I ask you to separate the two parents, if that's even possible? Is the problem sometimes with the child actually with the parent, and does it sometimes take one parent to kind of give some guidance to the other parent? Like maybe the problem is with dad. I'll just put it on the man just for the sake of this conversation. Is that part of what we need to understand?
Yeah, I think it's true that when parents view parenting very differently, it usually leads to a lot of marital distress. And one parent may just have a more calm disposition and temperament than the other who flies off the handle real quickly, not understanding things before he reacts. And I think that's what you're talking about, that kind of father. The father who says, I'm the father. What I say goes.
Yeah.
Well, I understand the father wants to be respected, but saying those words really shuts down the kids. It doesn't open them up. And a mother who, if we just split it up for convenience sake, the mother who's more empathic and says, wait, Sam, let's find out what she's thinking and feeling first, then we'll know how to react, is in a better position. But parents need to do this separately, not in front of the kids. When they do it in front of the kids feel like they're causing the marital problem.
And then how do you tell the parent how to help their child who's a bully? Larry had such a very devastating and horrific news story the other day. A elementary student, I believe, was coming out to his class that he was gay, and the bullies in the class told him to go kill himself, and he did.
He was 9.
9 years old. I mean, that was so horrendous, that story.
That is really terrible. And it's not unusual for a gay kid to be teased, but death is really unusual. That boy was very confused, probably very depressed. And when the kids started bullying and teasing him, it just shot off everything that was going on inside of him, and he couldn't tolerate. He had no more limits. He just couldn't tolerate the pain.
So sad. The story, the mother was quoted in the story saying he had come out to her first, and she did everything to let him know that she loved him, that it wasn't going to change anything for her. And it was because she was so warm about it that he felt like it was safe to tell the other kids.
Yeah. He needed guidance. It's very hard when kids are young and they realize that they're, in their words, different. They are usually afraid. That's a very unusual situation. Usually they're more afraid to tell their peers than their parents. And it's a very slow process.
If you had a book called The Busy Parent's Guide to Managing, what was the word I was just thinking of? Delusion. or expectations that are unrealistic expectations or something like that. How do we handle that? I remember that a little bit. It wasn't too much. It was like, okay, let me use Disney World as an example again. Okay, we're going to go to Disney World, but we're going to stay in a cheap motel. No, I want to stay.
Yeah.
My son never did this, by the way, Alex, if you're listening. I swear. In fact, he preferred camping. Yeah. But I mean, but you know what I mean? We're going to get some sneakers for school. I want the brand name that cost $100. How do you handle that kind of stuff?
Well, that reminds me of the chapter in the anger book when parents say no. Now, certainly in your child's life, you're going to say no to things. You have to set limits, and they have to be able to abide by them. But a lot of kids react to certain kinds of no's. And if that, in your example, if that kid was brought up in a very wealthy neighborhood and his parents weren't quite on par with the people next door or his other friends who were millionaires, and he's staying in a modest hotel, he might feel like he is less than the other kids. So that's what I mean by the meaning behind the behavior. Don't just scream at him, yes, we're staying there, we don't have the money. Try to understand, what does it mean to you when I say no, that we have to stay in this hotel? And the boy says, we're poor, we don't have anything. And the parents say, no, we're not poor, we're just not millionaires and billionaires.
Yeah.
This happens to kids when they go to college. I have situations like that now, where suddenly, you grew up in a kind of homogeneous community, and you go to a college that is heterogeneous in terms of wealth. And there are some really billionaire kids, and there are normal, everyday, above middle class kids. And they feel like it's a measure of who they are, of their self-worth, because they're building their identity. And if you understand that's what the problem is, not the money, then you can really talk to your child about what's bothering them. Do you see the difference?
I do. I'm wondering about teachers or other authority figures that are not parents. Does the same technique outlined in the book work for them or with them?
Yes, it would be actually that's a good idea to write a book for teachers, because they can use the same kind of steps with their with the kids in the classroom. Teachers are human too, and they also feel persecuted and rejected and want to be liked, especially now at the beginning of school. Kids aren't the only ones who want to be liked. Teachers want to be liked.
Yeah, sure.
And so they can overreact if a child acts up in class. But everybody's adjusting to a new situation, a new classroom, new bunch of kids, new curriculum. It's difficult on all sides. That's a good idea, actually. I'm going to share that with the publisher, that we should write a book for teachers.
What amazed me is that you have that you also do psychotherapy for infant and parent. I mean, you would think, I just don't understand how a parent and an infant would need psychotherapy.
Okay, well, imagine a mother who was not nurtured herself. She has a baby, and she is like really helpless as to helping this totally dependent little baby. And she doesn't know how to play. Lots of parents don't know how to play. And so the mother comes, or the father, or both. They come with their infant, and we play. And they watch me play, and they see how they understand what to expect of their child. I think Laurie, you said something about unrealistic expectations.
Yeah.
They have to know what's to be expected of a 2-month-old, a 3-month-old, a 4-month-old, and respond in kind. And parents don't always, it doesn't come naturally to all parents. All parents haven't had that experience. They focus on their pregnancy. When the baby comes, they're like in shock.
Yeah,
What
right.
do I do with this helpless little infant? I don't even know how to change a diaper. And a lot depends on the education they're given while they're pregnant, which is very, very important. So my job as an infant parent psychotherapist is to help them understand what to expect at different ages, because they grow very fast that first year. An awful lot happens, and how to play with them and how to understand them and how to talk in what used to be called motherese. Oh, little sweetheart, how are you doing? That little sing-song kind of talking. Some parents naturally do it, but many parents don't. And if they were abused themselves as parents, they don't know how to relate to this totally dependent child. So it's my job to help them learn how to relate. So it's a psychotherapy, it's a play therapy.
How do you stay sane and happy? Because I'm sure you've seen a lot of distressing things. I mean, you have to keep your perspective in your personal life as well.
Yes, it's absolutely true. That's why people in my profession have what we call peer groups and supervisory groups, where you confidentially can talk about your cases and get advice and reassurance from others. And so that you don't take personally. I mean, I had a kid once a very out of control boy who punched me in the face. Oh. And I had to remain calm, and it hurt.
Yeah. Wow, that's crazy.
But he was out of control. So my job was to be in control and to reserve my physical and emotional pain for after he left. We, as parents, there's a word called container. We need to contain our kids' anxiety and anger so that they don't feel that they are more powerful than we are. That's very scary. An angry kid is really a scared kid. And if they feel that their anger scares us, then it balloons. It gets bigger and bigger. But if we can stay calm, and my book tries to help you learn how to do that, then the child feels that their anger has not overwhelmed their parents, and they can calm down. The first step in the 5 steps to parental intelligence is stepping back, which means pausing, not reacting, because how do you react to something you don't understand yet? So it's really taking your time. Now, you don't have to know what to do in the first place. You don't have to give consequences for actions. You don't even understand the actions. So stepping back is the first step in holding back and taking your time. And kids see that, and it helps them calm down themselves.
There are some horrible stories right here in Florida of schools that are being students that are shot up by kids who it seems like it was something that was bubbling for years and years and years, and finally something snapped, and now there are children dead because another student decided it was going to take it out on them. So maybe this is an antidote to that. If we can get a grip on the anger when they're little, maybe it'll be better managed by the time they get older.
Absolutely. It's also important with those stories. They're really, big, and they're publicized a lot on television that our kids do not watch because they're really uncommon, not common. That the news focuses on them, you start to feel like you need to every school.
Good point.
I should not be watching this on television. It's much too scary.
I'm with you. Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Doctor, thank you for being on the show with us. I have the 2 books. If you would like the 2 that I was sent, call me right now. I'll give you both of them. And that's to one person, 622-9622. The rest of us have to go buy it. I found it on Amazon. Do you have a website you want to recommend?
Sure. It's Laurie Hollman, PhD.com. LaurieHollman, PhD.com. And the books are described there, and all my publications. You can read all kinds of articles. It's very big.
Very good. Let me give this one away. Good morning. You've got the 2 books. Who's this?
Hi, this is Linda.
Linda, you've got them. They'll be waiting for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I think you've got a hit on your hands. I think it's one of those mysteries we want to figure out how to unravel. And I appreciate you taking the time to be on the air to talk to us about this, Doctor.
Oh, I'm very happy to. I hope my books do well because I hope, I see so many parents in my practice, but I can't reach the world. And so hopefully my book reach more people.
Yeah.
And help them enjoy their children. I enjoy my kids. I want other people to enjoy theirs.
Give my regards to Long Island.
Okay, I will. I will.
Thank you, Doctor. All right, we'll be right back.
On this Thursday, times of sun and clouds. A stray thunderstorm anytime along the coast, but only in the afternoon across the interior. The high 86 of the coast, 90 inland. Thursday night, partly cloudy. There can be a thunderstorm in spots late near the coast. The low 71 inland, 78 at the coast. For Friday, intervals of clouds and sunshine. A thunderstorm at any time along the coast, but only in the afternoon across the interior with a high of 87 at the coast near 90 inland. From the Florida